everybody, and welcome back to the Corporate Esports Association quarterfinals. My name is PhiNick, joined on the desk today by the ever lovely Thousand Eyes. Excuse me. How are we feeling? Getting ready to go. Quarters between Google working from home and Senator We Run Vlads of Facebook.
I'm a little worried you're gonna just choke and die off in the middle of the cast now. Like,
Oh, okay. I'm sorry. I just ate a sandwich. Still, digesting. Discount code JMNILCS.
did you chew the
Jersey Mike's not
sandwich?
sponsored. Yes. That's it. Facebook Senator We Run Vlads is the red side here. I almost said dire side. I've been casting Dota all week. It's a little bit fun, but this is League of Legends. This is the quarterfinals. Last week we actually did cover Facebook Senator We Run Vlads, and due to some prior commitments, we had to delay this stream by an hour, which is why it's later than normal. But because of that, these were the two teams that we got to cast who were able to delay an hour, and we're thankful for that. Google working from home on the blue side. We've covered both these teams at various points throughout the season. So just a quick introduction on Google working from home. Or hold on, actually, never mind. Thousand, can you say something? As I actually didn't have my note sheet up for some reason.
Well, we are going to be getting ready for quarterfinals today, and semifinals will be. Actually, is that going to be next week, or is that next week is grand finals?
So next weekend is grand finals, but
next weekend will be grand finals. Cool.
Between now and then, semis will be played, either immediately succeeding this match or throughout the week. We will keep you updated on that one as we go along. As I take a look, Haggle only gave me a team sheet for one of these teams for some reason.
Oh no, there is both. I can give you the other.
No, we're good. Okay, cool. Google working from home. Let's go. Google working from home. They're supporting the NAACP. And they are a team that we've seen quite or one time thus far this season on broadcast during the time between the regular season and playoffs, as they have, I believe, second overall seeding. They are very, very high ranked compared to a lot of these other teams in the league. D1, D2, D3, with only one plat 4 player. So, things are as they are. They support the NAACP because everyone on the team fully supports BLM movement. And so, I mean, obviously, it makes a lot of sense. NAACP works specifically to fight for, civil rights of minorities and all that. And they are made from members from all over at Google. Fireworks and Maps, Scanlong and Megazero work in Cloud. Ashes of Dreams works in Chrome, and Battleshoots started at Verily recently. And they've had quite a few teams here in CEA for a long time. This team, of course, their top team as far as their number one team. They are Team One, best team coming out from Google. And according to Pyro, everyone has the ability to carry. So we'll see. Told us to watch for Mega Zero potentially as Senator We Run Vlads from Facebook. We saw them last week. And so they will be playing to the benefit of MSF, also known as Doctors Without Borders. Of course, a global charity that works to provide medical assistance in various areas of the world, specifically conflict zones and areas where it's very difficult for medical assistance to be given. And so there is that. They work at various parts of the Facebook company, Oculus, Instagram ads, and Messenger. And their team name comes from the Senator We Run Ads meme. And they have Vlad's people. They've been around for 2 years, not making it or never not making it to semis. And they want to make it to semis and not break that streak. However, they have to go through this Google working from home roster. We are about to get into the draft. What do we know about these players, though, champion-wise? What are we expecting to see?
All right, so obviously we saw the Facebook team last week. with Frankly getting super, super big on both the Skarner and the Zac. Those were the two really big, well, they were the only champs that he played, but did really, really well on them. And Chingo also popped off on the Swain mid, and they had the top lane Morgana that they swapped up into. So they mix things up and they kind of just go wherever they need to in order to make things work. So that's kind of really where I'm going to be looking, just kind of like how they're building their team composition. And kind of like they said, they kind of just will play a little bit on just whoever is doing well. Potato Shooter, I think, did get big in one of those games as well. So they just pivoted and played around him. On the other side, though, I know that Mega Zero is very scary. He is D2. Pyro is D1. But they are very, very much just absolutely terrifying if they start getting ahead.
Yeah, and I'm excited to see how these teams play out. We are just about ready to go into the draft here, as the teams are readying up, and we'll just get right into it. Of course, something that we've seen a lot for these drafts in CEA is a lot of people will pick per position early on.
Mm-hmm.
A lot of teams have had that instead of necessarily doing, more enhanced draft strategies, just due to the nature of drafting in client.
Mm-hmm.
However, I believe Google Working from Home is one of the teams that's been more consistent in how they do the draft strategies. So whatever our picks of the patch thus far, obviously Anivia, my bird, my favorite champion in the game, got massively buffed. Do we think we see Anivia this game, or do we think we see, certain other champions in higher priority, certain other champions lower priority than previous patches?
I think Anivia is only going to come up if somebody already had experience on her. I don't like, she is a champion that you need to understand deeply if you're going to try and play her in a competitive sense. That said, I don't know if any of these players really have a history of Anivia. Did not show up in any of the previous games, but that only goes back so far, obviously. You do see the Ornn and the Shen being banned. Both these top laners will play the tanks, will get super beefy and show up to team fights. So I think these are super powerful picks specifically for these players. And Shen is just very, very strong. The MF coming through as well has been strong. And there's the Skarner that we saw Frankly pull out last week. So I think these bans are kind of meta, but also kind of pocket picky. It's a little bit of, we know these are kind of strong and that you definitely play them, so we don't want to see them.
Yeah, Jhin though, I think still fairly strong this patch as well. With the MF being banned
Mm-hmm.
away, I'm surprised there wasn't the Jhin ban to accompany it. It will be the Maokai actually being banned away. Is Mega Zero first pick blind picks Malphite. You all know how I feel about this one. I'm not going to go into further detail. Suffice to say, I think it's actually better um, in the preseason 11 than it was in season 10 as a blind pick, just because you already get MR on the Sunfire Aegis. It doesn't really get as
Mm-hmm.
easily countered. We do see, however, Swain Hecarim picked up. Chingo most likely going to be playing that Swain. Did very well on it last week. Frankly, though, on the Hecarim, can put quite a bit of early aggression towards lanes, but in the second pickup, I feel like there are ways for Google Working from Home to maybe respond to both of these picks. Tristana going to be hovered and eventually taken in for Pyro. As Ashes of the Dreams now to pick. Will be the Morgana to
Okay.
most likely go with the Tristana. Could go mid lane though.
Actually, Ashes has a lot more experience on the Morgana. So I'm actually expecting this to go mid, but definitely is a flex pick. Also want to point out Swain can be a flex pick as well. Really lost. She has a lot of experience on those mage supports. Swain is one of them. So while we did see it come through on Chingo last week, it is still a flex pick and still can go support.
Yeah, Potato Shooter though will have the Kaisa to their name as we're into the second round of bans here.
I'm actually
Ivern,
really
what?
okay. Speaking of surprised, I'm actually really surprised that we didn't see any of the Jhin. I know Vayne has been really strong as well, but Tristana has been coming up. She's got a decent build. I think recently we've seen a lot more of the Hail of Blades type of carries really coming through. Twitch is another AD carry that has been coming through, obviously not in this game, but anybody who really relies on getting that burst damage down with the first couple of auto attacks, like Kai'Sa, Tristana, people who want that quick on-hit burst, they can really abuse that this patch with the items and how strong they can be, like Kraken Slayer.
Yeah, said. Still, lethality AD carries I think are generally speaking more strong late game, or not late game, but more strong in that early to mid game than crit
Yeah,
ADCs, and on hit ADCs I think are stronger late than crit ADCs at the moment, with a couple of exceptions, mainly Samira. So Kai'Sa being the on hit AD carry of choice for anyone who doesn't like playing Ezreal.
yeah,
Definitely makes sense, especially into the Malphite pickup. Can shred through them. Even as he builds armor, right? You still are most likely going to see the AP Kai'Sa build come out just because you're into a Malphite, right? As well as, this Tristana. I mean, I think she has a much better landing phase than Kai'Sa just due to the nature of the pick being Tristana. However, late game, I definitely favor the Kai'Sa. Riven, though, going to be picked up in the top lane for OP Sad Boys. So, final pick will decide whether this is a Swain mid or a Swain support.
yeah.
It looks to be the Nunu in the jungle.
I really. So okay, I'm kind of surprised to see the Riven because Malphite like is not great into Riven, but it's definitely one of those lanes that you can survive in, compared to when you are blind picking the Malphite. But they're gonna be taking that, and the Nunu coming through too, so that does give them a lot of front line. And we'll see here what Fiddle's gonna pick up. Looks to be the Galio. Now,
I don't know if
that's
it's
still
Galio mid or Galio support.
yeah, I'm almost positive this is support. Fiddleshooks has experience on the Galio, and Ashes also has some, but not as much, I believe. So this definitely could go back and forth. And there is the Nautilus. So it is going to be that Swain mid, actually. I was going to point out that they did take out the, as we had somebody end up leaving. We did see the Leona ban come through, which is one of the
Oh, it was a Cho'gath, not Riven.
ah
Okay, it was a
that makes a
placeholder.
lot more sense.
Okay.
All right. So that does change the team composition a good bit. But I was going to point out the Leona ban against Really Lost was pretty important because that is one of the few like straight up tank engage supports that Really Lost has a lot of experience on. So banning that out really forces Really Lost to either play a champion that she's not as comfortable on, or play a just a mage support when they didn't want that. So that is a pretty important ban that's going to force Really Lost into a situation where she's now going to be a little bit uncomfortable.
Yeah, that said, right, and picking the Nautilus, you know that this is going to be Galio support now, right? Because the advantage of picking the support mid flexes into the Swain, right, is you basically just put the support, or you put the Galio in whatever lane the Swain isn't, right? Galio would have a very tough time laning against Swain, either in that bottom lane or in the mid lane. So knowing that it's Nautilus support, you're going to be able to put the Galio into that support position, being able to use your counter engage onto the Nautilus in the taunt. And Morgana has a much better time against Swain in the mid lane.
Yeah, I mean, Nautilus also really hates playing against Morgana. So I think they're really banking on this Morg being in the mid lane. So I think either way, it's a really rough matchup. It's just really kind of dependent on where you want to put that rough matchup. And do you want to struggle in the mid lane, or do you want to struggle in the bot side?
Yeah, that's
Yeah,
a
it's going to be the Galio. Yeah,
yeah.
they're picking their own champions right now. So that will be the Galio for the support, and the Swain will be playing up against the Morgana.
Yeah, I quite think Morgana's actually fairly good in this matchup. Once you have Black Shield, you can basically shut down Swain's ability to actually gain stacks early. Because he'll basically get half the stacks, right? If that, because he'll no longer be able to never move you, because
Hmm.
it's a relatively easy ability to Black Shield, and they're on similar cooldowns. So I wouldn't be surprised to see probably like a level 2 Black Shield for going the Dark Binding into level 3, but could be just going the standard Tormented Soil Dark Binding and then Black Shield for the mid lane Morgana. Um, that's a top lane. This matchup, Cho'gath is a really powerful pick right now. We probably want to talk a little bit about that. So let's talk about that pick. Cho'gath into Malphite.
All right, so Malphite gets absolutely dookied on in this matchup. Cannot push Cho'gath out of lane, and Cho'gath full tank Cho'gath is the way. It has been the I have strongly felt that it has been the way for a while. But full tank Cho'gath is the standard nowadays with grasp. And there is no way that Malphite is going to be able to push him out of lane. And Cho'Gath's just inherent damage on his E, the auto attack enhancement, that is going to tear through Malphite in all portions of the game. So this is not a fun time for Mega Zero. He's just going to be trying to stay alive until he gets into the mid lane, or into the mid game portion rather, and bring those big ults out to make things happen.
Yeah, and it would be a mistake to go anything other than Arcane Comet as Malphite here. Just because you want to keep distance.
Yeah,
You want to just poke out with Q, get cheeky on a couple of minions, but going Grasp of the Undying is just asking for trouble up against this Cho'Gath matchup.
yeah.
He has stronger auto attacks, he'll trade better short. We'll see how Megazero decides to build runes here, right? But moving on into the jungle, it will be the Nunu versus the Hecarim. Nunu definitely probably one of the top 3 tank junglers in the meta right now,
Yeah.
with the Amumu nerfs coming in. And with the Hecarim pickup, it's one that I've seen kind of gain popularity over the last 2 patches or so. Either Divine Sunder or Triforce. I feel like Divine Sunder are probably going to be the pick this game because you're in a Malphite, Nunu, and Galio, or support Galio, so he's not building AP, he's building tank. But what are your thoughts on this jungle matchup?
Yeah, so that is going to be just Hecarim has the early advantage, especially in terms of clear. Nunu's early clear, not the greatest. But Hecarim will be able to clear fairly effectively. Will have a little bit more early game presence, but Nunu's objective control is going to be really hard to deal with. And there's so much just zone potential that Hecarim is going to have to basically ult in or get a really good flank off to make things happen. And then you still have the Morgana Black Shield. So I think Frankly is really going to have a hard time the longer the game goes, just because of how often you're going to be dealing with those big, beefy, strong zoning potential abilities, as well as just the Black Shield to keep people alive.
Oh, I mean, speaking of having trouble going late here, I think that does lead into this bot lane where we have this Kai'Sa versus Tristana matchup, where Tristana should have the early game kind of on lockdown versus this Kai'Sa, even though it's a Kai'Sa Nautilus.
Mhm.
But at the same time, this Kai'Sa, right, I think definitely scales better than the Tristana at the moment. What are your thoughts, though?
Um, that's a tough one because they both scale well in different ways. Kaisa's extra damage is definitely a lot more consistent than Tristana's. However, you can't negate the amount of range that Tristana gets in the late game. Uh, Kaisa will get outranged into the late game. You can see there is the Hail of Blades, so a lot of burst damage coming through, and they're really going to be looking to just pop people with that Tristana. Um, I, I'm I want to say, like, if you're talking about a straight up DPS check, that's going to go to Kaisa. But if you're talking about in hectic team fights where there's so much that Kaisa has to dance around, I think Tristana might actually have a little bit of the edge.
Regardless, though, we are into game now, and you know what that means. On the blue side, it is Google working from home with Megazero on the top lane, Scanlong in the jungle, Ashes of Dreams in the mid lane, Pyro and AD Carry, and Fiddleshooks in support.
And on the red side, we have Facebook Senator We Run Vlads. We have OP Sad Boys in the top lane, Frinkly in the jungle, Chingo in mid lane, Potato Shooter on 80 carry, and Really Lost in support.
And we see a stat coming in this bottom side of the map from Mega Zero and company. Google working from home, not wanting to potentially get caught out by a Nautilus invade, but little do they know it's just the 5 points coming out from Senator We Run Vlads, as you say it's a bit hyphy to go for a Nautilus invade into a Morgana team. Morgana Galio, I should say.
Galio and just, yeah, Tristana early level 1 is actually pretty strong with Hail of Blades. So, plus, if they were going to go for an invade, both of the entrances there that they would go through would be seen. Have them early warded. Now, worth noting, that will leave a bit of bot lane pressure available because Kaisa used her ward on the bot side. So there's going to be a bit of time where there won't be any real vision for Potato Shooter and Really Lost to move forward.
Well, both junglers starting on their red buffs here. So Hecarim looking for maybe some early pressure down towards the bottom side of the map, as the Nunu most likely is going to go for a full clear. And in fact, that is what we see from him, going straight to the Raptors. Frankly, going to opt for the full clear on the red side as well. Going to Krugs. So none of that buff gromp nonsense.
Scanlong's actually, it is not a true full clear there because he didn't go for the Krugs, but yeah, we'll be just clearing out the Raptors and then probably going up to the top side there. And I'm kind of surprised. No, he's actually going for the Krugs. Okay. It's a little bit weird. Generally, if you're going to full clear, you want to go for the Krugs because it just makes more sense from a pathing standpoint. You waste a little bit less time, but that is the flash from Really Lost, just because of the level 2 power spike on Fiddlesheeks.
So perhaps we can talk a little bit about runes here. By a little bit, I mean Mega Zero is disappointing me. He went Grasp of the Undying, but OP Sad Boys, meanwhile, instead of going Grasp, has actually opted for the Unsealed Spellbook. We'll see how well he can play around that rune. I think it can be fairly powerful on Cho'gath, just because he gets so much health already. You kind of don't really need Grasp. And you can get sustain from the other parts of that tree in Inspiration. But we'll see how OP Sad Boys plays. It really depends on how well he's good at swapping out Summoner spells. We'll keep track of that as the game goes on. Meanwhile, though, Conqueror, Swain, and Hecarim, not too unstandard for either of those champions. Hail of Blades gets picked up by Potato Shooter on the Kaisa, and the Aftershock on the Nautilus. Scanlong has the Phase Rush, though, on the Nunu, and everything else fairly standard from the rest of the team as well. Aftershock Galio, Hail of Blades Tristana, and for mid lane, Morgana, you have one of two options. She opts for the more damagey one in the Arcane Comment.
Oh, this is an AP Cho'gath. This is not a full tank Cho'gath. So I can already tell because the Rupture is being maxed, not the Vorpal Spikes. So that
just going on the Malphite here.
Yeah.
Fiddleshoeks gets a nice time on Frankly looking for a gank bot, so they'll be able to get out of that one. So what are your thoughts on that into this Malphite matchup?
I very much prefer seeing full tank Cho'gath because I just think he's really, really good. I think he still puts out a lot of damage. I think especially into tanks, you just constantly win, especially if you do take Grasp. But I mean, it's still going to beat the Malphite.
Yeah. I mean, I think it just wins harder against the Malphite. But as you said, into, a Tristana, perhaps maybe not the best thing to do. You want to get as much health as possible against her. Because once kind of her initial burst is down in the fight, if she can't get the rocket jump reset by killing you, or by getting her bomb down, then, she's all but useless until that comes off cooldown. So
especially when you have the Hail of Blades. If it was press the attack Tristana, it might be a little bit different, but with Hail of Blades, you are definitely just all
Actually,
inning
he
on the
grabs the
burst.
Negatron cloak.
What?
So,
Huh. I'm
um,
very confused by this
there's a lot of
combination
magic
of
damage on this team, but
yes, but when you're maxing rupture,
maybe it's just maxing it for lane, right?
may, maybe.
I mean, let's put it this way: in a fight, right? Or not maxing it for lane, maxing it for skirmishes, because it's a more, I think it's a more useful ability in a fight, right? Is Rupture being able to get the CC down more so
Yeah,
than Vorpal Spikes. So perhaps he's like, okay, you know, Vorpal Spikes helps me CS, but I don't really need that. I already know I'm gonna win this lane regardless, even though he's 10 CS down. Um, maybe he's like, okay, I could just grab this ability here, make it maxed for mid-game skirmishes, and call it a day.
yeah. I guess we will find that out as we do see Megazero getting back. Has the Bomby Cinder already, which does a lot for helping Malphite get control of this lane. That means that the wave clear from Cho'gath is going to be just heavily based on that Q, which is going to eat up a lot of mana. And Megazero is just going to be able to stand there, be a rock, and push the wave.
Yeah, a bit unfortunate here. If he had Comet, I honestly think he would be winning this lane right now.
He kind of is. He's
Yeah,
kind
but I
of
mean,
winning it
like,
regardless.
but I mean, like winning harder. You know,
Yeah.
not being, you know, yeah. I mean, he has a CS advantage over the Cho'gath right now, but you know, perhaps if he had Arcane Comet, he would have chunked the Cho'gath out,
Oh, this
quite a
is
bit of health, and then
Hyphy,
maybe
yeah.
gone for an ult
Frankly
dive on
solid.
level 6. Yeah, frankly, a bit hyphy. Ashes of Dreams, though, able to keep Chingo from getting the pull in, and that's kind of the
Yeah.
power of the Morgana into this lane. As Nunu
Yeah.
rotates into this red side, and we'll be able to steal the buff away from Frankly. Ashes of Dreams is around. Mega Zero takes a blast count over, and Scan Long with a nice invade play to keep Frankly from gaining any more early power. Off of a good
Yeah.
wave priority.
Well, yeah. I mean, like a lot of that is on Mega Zero for being able to win that lane early. As we do see a gank coming through, I don't think this is going to turn into much.
And he pops the Absolute Zero, trades it for a flash. OP Sad Boys had already used TP as well, and being forced to back here, this does end up benefiting Mega Zero quite well. Frankly, meanwhile, though, he ganks mid, going to go ahead and pop the ultimate, and that gives the first blood over to Chingo on the Swain. So we'll be able to kind of get some recompense for a flash use top lane. Chingo, though, did use his flash, did actually pop ultimate there as well, kind of unnecessarily to pick up the kill onto the Morgana. So Ashes of Dreams not feeling great right now, but still, even in CS, just down a little bit of gold as Mega Zero takes the first plate of the game in the top lane.
Yeah, and that really needed to happen after the Nunu did get in and steal the red buff there, as Mega Zero's early lane pressure allowing for Scanlong to just get in there, take that red buff, and get out. But frankly, able to turn that around as we have an ultimate used bot.
Yeah, he's able to get the 2-man knock up into the hook on Fiddleshoot, because Pyro not level 6 yet either, so doesn't have Buster Shot, but that ultimate doesn't even get out any summoner spells from Pyro or Fiddle, just a rock and jump and a shielded Duran, so they're totally fine with it. Really lost. It's not on the longest of cooldowns for an ultimate, right? It's not like Galio ultimate cooldown where it takes like forever. It's more like just like a minute and a half at the moment. Meanwhile, we see Scanlog come up top lane towards OP Sad Boys with the biggest snowball ever. Knockup will land, but this should be a dead Cho'gath. Mega Zero pops the ultimate, and Scanlong picks up the kill. Swain, meanwhile, though, gets 10 HP off that, as he did pop a Vision of Empires.
It's
so
worth it.
it's worth it. 10 HP on the
10
Swain.
HP for your top laner dying? This is a win-win.
exactly.
Yeah, obviously Scanlong really just hard focusing this top lane here because Mega Zero is feeling confident, calling him up there all the time, and there really needs to be a bit more vision control there. You can see the top side river is entirely lit up for Google. They are completely in control of that side of the map, and that means that OP Sad Boys not only can't see if Nunu is coming, but also can't call Frankly up because he will be spotted from a mile away.
Yeah, and really lost. I gotta correct myself. about her ultimate. It is a 2-minute cooldown at level 1, not a 90-second cooldown. But regardless, that one's coming online in about 20 seconds. So, you know, ultimate was used, but Pyro and Fiddleshooks couldn't really do anything for it. So overall, kind of a non-issue. But they're both at level 6 now. We have the Hero's Entrance. We have the Buster Shot, both of which can be used effectively. Potato Shooter, though, at level 7 with the Halo Blades, building into the Kraken's... No, the Mortal Shield Bow. I believe that's what Noon Quiver and Pickaxe builds into, right? Yeah.
I'd have to double check. I need to I need to be a little bit more on top of my item builds for the new items, but
Ashes of Dreams, though, engaged on the will shoot, will end up popping the ultimate, gets the down on a Frankly. Chengo gets killed on a Fiddle Shoots in the meantime as Absolute Zero gets popped. Really Lost picks up that kill. And the Swain getting damage on Ashes of Dreams. Kaisa, though, gonna ult forward onto Ashes of Dreams, getting caught up, though, in the Tormented Soil. Ends up getting taken out by Buster Shot as Pyro picks up the kill. Buster Shot into the bomb, so 2 for 1. But Galio's respawning here. I don't know if they're going to be able to take this dragon. 9 seconds on the Nunu.
Yeah, not a way they're going to get this, because not only did they have the Cho'gath ultimate, they also had OP Sad Boys using Smite at the time. So there was no way they were going to ever be able to steal that. But yeah, a great engage there with both the Hecarim ultimate as well as just the knock up from Really Lost there. Really doing a great job of engaging as a team, using all their AoE that they have. Unfortunately, Potato Shooter got a little bit hyphy. Ulted forward, auto attack Tristana instead of Morgana, and that is why Pyro was able to turn that one around and take Potato Shooter out while Morgana got out free.
Unfortunate for the Kaisa, but you know, this is about what we expected from a Tristana, right? She's able to do quite fine into that lane. Right now we're 2 kills to 3. Only about 400 gold separating the two teams. Rift Herald going to be spawned in the meantime. In the bottom lane, looking for some of those dank pre-14 plates. We'll all go on to the Nunu. Sorry. Yeah, I'll go on to the Nunu, getting 320 gold for himself, as Pyro and Fiddleshoots weren't close enough to grab some, but it's all right. It's all right. Take it easy.
Yeah, and now just looking around the map now and seeing where we're at as far as farm totals go, this top lane is getting a little bit ridiculous here. It is going to be the Chem Tank, I believe, from OP Sad Boys here.
He has the Bomby Cinder.
Has the Bomby Cinder. I'm trying to remember. I believe that Chem Tank is the more magic resistance focused one.
Frankly, meanwhile, Posse Ultimate on Ashes of Dreams mid lane, gets 5 HP over to a Swain. Hashtag worth. Pyro picks up a solo play bot side in the meantime. I mean, look. If you get 5 HP for your Swain, that's all that matters, right? Right?
Yeah.
Right.
Just flash in.
Yeah, I mean, I would flash just for 5 stacks, or for 1 stack.
Yeah. Yeah, no, that sounds pretty good to me. Yeah, it is the Chem Tank. So instead of going for the Iceborne that we see a lot of Cho'gaths go, which is pretty much purely for that passive of the extra size and HP for every legendary item you get, we're actually seeing the Chem Tank for the extra engage potential and actually getting the extra tenacity and slow resist for every legendary item built, which I'm kind of surprised about. I like it because it's basically Righteous Glory, which is what Cho'gath rushed anyway. So I don't think it's bad. It's just generally because if you're going full tank Cho'gath, you generally go for that Iceborne because of the extra HP and size and how well that works with Cho'gath's kit.
Yeah, the old Righteous Glory build, I think, is the inspiration. But at the same time, he's behind on Mega Zero at the moment by about a complete level, which does not feel great, as we see a taunt on a Frankly in the bot side. He'll be fine, though. Minute 30 left on the Ocean Dragon at the moment, as Rift Herald has respawned.
Yeah, so gonna slow down a little bit right now, which I think both teams are kind of okay with. Right now, we're kind of in this mid-game lull point where the AD carries haven't turned on entirely, but the early game pressure from these tanky, beefy junglers is starting to fall off.
Frankly, over the wall with the ultimate gets thrown up by Fiddle Shoots. Pyro was able to rock and jump out of
Teleport.
the way, but Chingo's here. Here comes Galio ultimate, able to get a two-man knock up. As Scanlong makes his way down. MegaZero as well. MegaZero has the ultimate, but the Tristana has been melted. Absolute Zero gets on to 4 members as Fiddle Shoots get a 3-man taunt. Kaisa, she's already here. Scanlong taking it very low. Malphite gets a 2-man knock up. Frankly, though, he's able to take up the tower. He stays alive just in time. Potato Shooter picks up the kill on a MegaZero, and it will be a 4-for-1 in favor of Senator.
We have a Morgana ult.
Bad boys. Caught up by Ashes of Dreams, but he barely ends up falling. Ashes of Dreams now looking for really lost. 4 for 2 thus far. Really lost. Will be able to hook out of the way, but it's down to 300 health. Now 200. Ashes of Dreams got to be very careful here. Caught up by a Void Seeker, and now he's in trouble. Really lost. Ends up falling. Potato Shooter going to fly over to Ashes of Dreams and flash out. And extended 5 for 3. In favor of Senator, we run Vlads, but they won't be able to grab the dragon due to Ashes of Dreams on the Morgana. Getting a decent defense on that T1 tower bot side. Divine Sunder, though, gotta be completed for Frankly. Leander's Anguish completed on Shingo, as Kraken Slayer completes on Potato Shooter.
Yeah.
Why did I think that was Shield Bow? Kraken Slayer on both of these 80 carries. Every single
that's kind of what I figured.
this game. Hero Mandate on the Nautilus, a Scanlong and Pyro will take the Ocean Dragon.
Yeah, lock it on the Nautilus, and Imperial Mandate coming through actually for the Galio. I'm kind of surprised by that one. I don't actually know what support Galio builds, but yeah, everybody getting their mythics down right away, as is about expected. But now OP Stab Boys hits that level 11 mark. Very big boy. Does have a lot of health, and that is a very, very hard to take down tank for Tristana at this point in the game. You can see just with the Kraken Slayer alone, that's not going to be enough.
Well, Fiddle Shoots will get a knockout top onto OP Sad Boys. Pyro has not put the bomb down onto the Cho'gath, so not going to happen. As we see, really lost Frankly, Potato Shooter, and Shingo. Go ahead and grab the Rift Herald. So 1 Rift Herald apiece for either team at the moment. Shingo gets pulling on to Ashes of Dreams. So 10 HP to the Swain. That's all that matters. Currently sitting on 100% KP, 3-0-5. Frankly, they're going to dive the T1 tower. Here comes the Nunu, though. Ashes of Dreams stays alive as we weren't able to get the follow-up damage on the Kaisa. Root lands. Now they might be in trouble. Galio's here. Absolute Zero gets a knock-up from the Galio ultimate, and Scanlong picks up the kill.
That is one of those hooks that you throw and immediately regret throwing. Because you throw that one down and you're like, wait, why am I doing this? So really lost, getting a little bit too big for her britches right there, and will go down. That will give the mid tower over, as Tristana very good at taking towers. And now this turns into a very great siege. Wave clear will come through, but Pyro, if he is able to get onto any of those towers, that will be a very, very scary Tristana all over it.
MegaZero has ult at the moment as well, so might be looking for a turn as Frankly's on the side of the fight. Or not fight, but side of the positioning as if there were a fight. And looking for a flank. He decides against it, though. Just going into that blue side, red side. MegaZero going to clear wards in towards the Baron pit, as that is up in about 30 seconds.
Yeah, I'm looking through, just leveling here, seeing if there's anything else weird going on. It seems to be just the weirdness in OP Sad Boys build here, with the silence being max secondary here. Very unique for tank Cho'gaths.
I mean, it's just utility, right? Like, both those abilities are utility abilities. Yes, they do damage, scaling with AP, but
It just
Realistically
I
speaking,
worry that it's because OP Sad Boys plays AP Cho'gath and now tank Cho'gath is the good thing and doesn't recognize the difference in terms of leveling.
perhaps. Chingo, though, going to be able to keep this top lane T1 tower up for the time being. But Megazero should be able to grab it on this next wave as Chingo ends up taking it back. Really lost, frankly, in Potato Shooter, though. Onto the T1 tower mid, going to pop the Rift Herald. Should be able to grab this. Fire and Fiddle Shoots are in the vicinity, though. As is Ashes of Dreams.
Yeah, trade of towers. So Google will stay ahead in terms of the tower count. As more importantly, though, the mid wave will get pushed in as Dragon is spawning in about 50 seconds. This will give first warding opportunity over to Facebook. You can see they already have control wards and regular wards set up all around the entrances. So this is looking to be a setup for a contested Dragon. As Megazero is actually going towards top, has the TP. Chingo backing, does have TP as well.
Yeah, 23 seconds on this Ocean Dragon, though. It would be a fight for soul point, potentially. Should Google working from home decide to contest onto it. Really lost in OP Sad Boys just sitting around the pit at the moment. Fiddle Shooks and Pyro are around. All ultimates available across the board. So 2 smites are available for Senator rerun Vlads, but also 2 smites
Okay, so
for Google working from home.
it is really important to note here that with Ocean Soul map, it is very hard to keep vision control in the Dragon Pit.
TP coming in. They're looking for the engage. Scanlon gonna get pulled in. They are able to secure it with the Cho'gath, but the damage is coming in very, very strong from working from home. But Potato Shooter is able to get the kill into the Nunu in the meantime. Ashes Dreams able to secure a kill for the Morgana. Morgana ends up going and picking up a kill as the taunt lands onto Really Lost. I cannot find words. It's a 3 for 2 in favor of Google working from home. I just finished casting a BO5, man. That's where I'm at.
That was just a mosh pit of a fight. Both teams running into each other, throwing down all their abilities, and coming out on top was actually Google. But they did not secure the Dragon. Scanlon not able to get there in time, but able to create a huge ultimate there that, while it didn't do a lot of damage, created a big slow field, which kept Kaisa away from the fight. You could see Potato Shooter not taking a lot of damage, but also not dealing a lot of damage either. And Pyro was able to output a lot and did get a kill at the end of the day, as well as Ashes of Dreams ultimate combined with the Tormented Soil. There was no opportunities for Potato Shooter and even Chingo to an extent to really get deeper into that fight.
Meanwhile, though, Really Lost might be caught out here. Rooted up, Megazero.
Yeah, that's caught out.
Unfortunately, she falls, but 10 HP goes over to the Swain.
Yeah, but she also put down a control ward.
He gets the ult down on OP Sad Boys, able to dodge out the damage coming in. Now the taunt, and frankly, ends up having to ult out of the fight. Scanlong's here. He's able to get the kill with the snowballs. Pops the absolute zero. Swain pops the ultimate as well, but Potato Shooter ends up going down. Now Fiddle Shooks gets a knock-up down onto OP Sad Boys. Chingo takes a blast cone over the wall. OP Sad Boys able to find Pyro with the ultimate, but Megazero is already here. The silence lands on a Fiddle Shooks into the taunt, though, as Ashes of Dreams ends up securing a kill for the team. It will be a 3 for 2, though, as 2 kills do go over to OP Sad Boys in that fight.
Yeah, but there were 3 Swain stacks there. That is 15 HP.
That's all I got to talk about. You know, Swain, right?
No, actually, okay. So that fight actually wasn't too terrible, all things considered, for Facebook. They were able to get 2 kills out of OP Sad Boys. So 2 kills in the Cho'gath pocket will get even beefier. But unfortunately, every single one of these fights, the Morgana is doing the Swain job better. She's just kind of running forward and ulting and being a huge, scary AoE mage. And Swain's just not the same type of threat in that way because the CC is not available with the ultimate. So Potato Shooter, not able to get into those fights, has to keep backing up consistently. And Pyro doesn't have to deal with the same thing because he could just leave if that Swain is starting to get really scary. And they haven't been able to get onto this Tristana in the same way that that Google has been able to get onto Potato Shooter.
Bloodthirster also completed on Pyro ahead of the Gwynsu's completion from Potato Shooter. Google working from home. Going to go ahead and start this Baron as TP gets channeled from OP Sad Boys. They're about 3,000 gold down, but in 25 minutes, it's not that terrible. And OP Sad Boys, he's down to 2,000 health, but he's very tanky at the moment. Hook will land, but here comes the ultimate from the Galio. They're able to get a 4-man knockup, 2-man taunt, and now they're looking for the follow-up damage. OP Sad Boys taken out very low, and Pyro gets killed freely. OP Sad Boys will be the next one to fall as Chingo ends up popping the zone. Really lost is also low, but Potato Shooter was able to ult into the backline and able to get Fiddle Shoots on the side. Pyro now looking for Potato Shooter, able to get quite a few stacks of the bomb, but they can't complete. And we'll be at 2 for 2. Both junglers down means no Baron takes for either team.
And there was the difference too. We saw Potato Shooter wasn't hit by that initial Morgana ult and was able to come back into that fight despite Ashes of Dreams getting really deep in there. So if Potato Shooter is able to get into those fights, it completely changes how it works. Pyro wasn't as much of a threat because Potato Shooter could work down that Nunu. Mega Zero wasn't as much of a threat to Potato Shooter either. And then after that, there was just ample opportunity for Potato Shooter to ult in, take the Galio, and then use Swain as the backup to get back out.
Dragon going to spawn here. Soul point fight, but not a soul fight. As Frankly and company are first into the pit, they're going to be able to melt this with
Cho'gath still there.
Channel, the root lands. That will be the Dragon going over, and Nunu, he comes into the pit. Here comes the damage. Chingo, he's so low. Pyro gets the kill, and now OP Sad Boys and really lost to end up melting. 3 for 1, make that 4. As a double kill goes over to Mega Zero. Kaisa, now the only member of her team alive. They grab the Dragon, but at what cost? Mega Zero got a flash, get a Q down. Here comes Nunu into the knockup, the flash out of the way. They're on Potato Shooter, but here comes the ultimate from Potato Shooter to be able to get back onto Scanlong. Scanlong ends up staying alive just barely as the ace goes over to the Tristana using the Buster Shot. They're onto the Baron now. Is Google working from home? 15 seconds remaining on Frankly, 3 on Really Lost. This should just be a Baron secured for the Google squad.
Yeah, and these just massive clusters of fights there, you're not going to out AoE team fight this Malphite and Nudu and Galio. There is so much AoE CC that if they all group up in that tiny dragon pit, you're not going to get a chance to use any of your abilities or attacks. That is why that fight just went so south so quickly. Pyro could literally jump into the dragon pit and deal damage and not have to worry about anything because they were just getting knocked up, locked down over and over again. And Pyro just cleaned up, constantly jumping, getting resets, and just the AoE damage was huge.
GA completed as well for the Tristana. Scanlong might find Frankly into a knockup. Knocked back though. Potato Shooter is here. Yeah, they're gonna pop the ultimate, so maybe disengage the fight, but Ashes of Dreams is here. Gonna be able to get the root down.
That's an engage, friend.
Here comes Pyro, and that is, in fact, an engage. Fiddle Shoots picks up the kill as Chingo ends up popping Demonic Ascension as well as the Zoni's Hourglass gonna be taunted up though, and Chingo will fall to Pyro. 2-4-0. And the Baron buff still on 5 members of Google working from home now, pushing into the mid lane.
Yeah, and either we're getting fights that are either massive groupings for all of Google to take advantage of, or picks coming through that then create this 4v5 opportunity for Google. We have not really seen enough of a pick from Facebook, and that is why they're just in this situation where they might be going down.
We're going for the end. Mega Zero had popped the ultimate. Turret goes down to Tristana. Mega Zero still taking up the other one, though. OP Sad Boys, though, he's very low as Pyro gets ulted by the Nautilus, but he is on the Black Shield, so he won't get knocked up. Scanlong gonna be able to get a knock up on quite a few people. Stomp lands on a Frankly into the absolute zero. Scanlong picks up the kill And now they're on to the Nexus. Chingo really lost a potato shooter. Can't really do too much, and Google working from home. Got a 30-minute victory, 10,000 up, and they go up the series 1-0.
And that was just an understanding of their team composition so much better than Facebook really grasped on their own, because the AoE was just so huge, and you saw it happen in so many fights. There weren't opportunities there to turn that around with the way that Facebook were playing. They had to make picks. They had to get somebody fed so that this late game wombo combo team fight wouldn't be as devastating, but they never got that opportunity. They never made those picks. And then they started getting picks themselves, or they started getting picked off themselves rather. And with that, you are just in a really, really rough spot.
Yeah, highest damage in the game, though, going over to this Morgana pick by Ashes of Dreams. Honestly, not too surprising, despite the Tristana going in and out and in and out of fights. Like, they just kept grouping up and kept getting hit on Tormented Soils and
Yeah.
Soul Shackles. I think this is back to the drawing board for Senator. We run Vlads. Perhaps I actually do run the Vlad in this next game if it's not banned out from them. That said, Google working from home, very, very good game from them. They, kept it close up until the point where they hit power spikes, and then from then on out, just ended up winning the game straight up.
Yeah, they played around it almost like it was a support Morgana rather than a mid lane Morgana, which a mid lane Morgana, she's maxing that W first, and you have to pay attention if you're walking over that, because it's not like with the support where you could just kind of walk over it and take 20 damage and whatever. You're going to take a good chunk of your health and you're going to be burning for a bit against a mid lane Morgana. So that needs to be a bit more prioritized, and they need to kind of understand how that pick really works as opposed to its support counterpart.
Yeah, and it just worked. It just worked. It's like Bethesda, but in Riot Games, it just works. That said, we're going to take it to a quick break as we get ready to go for the second game of the series. Hopefully, we'll get a 3-gamer, but we'll see. Senator we run Vlads has to go back to the drawing board after that game one, and Google working from home definitely looking like the better of the two teams at the moment. We'll see how that goes, though, after the break. Ladies and gentlemen, boys and girls, and bees of all ages, welcome back to the Corporate Esports Association quarterfinal matchup between Senator We Run Vlads and Google Working From Home. My name is PhiNick, joined on the desk today, as always, by the ever lovely Thousand Eyes. And after Facebook took quite a beating from Google Working From Home in game number 1, they will be on the blue side, potentially looking to change things up. How are we feeling that they're going to adapt to this draft going into the second game?
Yeah, so more than anything, I'm hoping their bot lane changes up. I think the Kaisa with the Nautilus, generally a good lane matchup, but unfortunately, Kaisa not super strong in the meta right now. Nautilus also not super great. Just the combination of that, as well as I think the out of the norm Cho'gath build in the top lane was really just throwing things out of whack. And you saw that really come apart in the mid game when they had no opportunity to come back into these fights because they just got completely comboed down with no way to respond.
Yeah, I'm with you on that one. I think the Kai'Sa Nautilus pick, while I think it's good in the late game, they just couldn't get to that. Maybe they adjust something else top lane outside of the build. Maybe just don't pick Cho'Gath, right?
I think even in that late game, you're still going to struggle because how is Kaisa going to get into fights? Like there's no safe option for her to get into those fights because there's just constant wide AoE abilities that she needs to stay away from. So I think the Kaisa in that specific instance was a really poor pick. But there's only so much of that you can really expect depending on where you pick her in the draft. That said, we know that is a composition that can be run. So what are they going to come back with? And it looks like they're actually going to take the Tristana away from Pyro, as the Malphite has been banned away too from OP Sad Boys. So taking away the things that they themselves think are strong.
Yeah, I'm with you on that one. I'm with the teams on that one, I should say. I think the Tristana pick was very good for Pyro, and I definitely think that taking it away makes a lot of sense. That said, right, you do have the option of picking the Jhin here as he is currently available to potentially actually outlane the Tristana. Maokai being picked up by Mega Zero here could always go into the support role, but most likely in that top lane as Scanlong to pick. And I predicted it. It's the Jhin coming out for Pyro.
Yeah, this okay, so this definitely is a flex pick. Both Mega Zero and Fiddleshooks have some games on the Maokai. Mega Zero has been spamming the heck out of it, so probably, yeah, you're right, probably top lane. But Fiddleshooks has some games, so I think that support Maokai is actually kind of silly and a little bit really good. So if you know how to play it and other people don't know how to play against it, it will steamroll people.
Yeah. Speaking of steamroll, though, Zyra picked up for Really Lost as they pick up Ornn for OP Sad Boys. I quite like the Zyra pickup here. Um, how do you respond to a Jhin? One of two ways. One, pick something really safe. Two, pick something really aggressive. Zyra Tristana, I think, is insanely aggressive and can deal with the fact that Jhin can't really reposition himself all that often in lane. Kind of just due to the way that his cast animations work and stuff like that. Though Cho'Gath being picked up does mean this will be Maokai support, as Mega Zero should be playing this Cho'Gath unless it's mid Cho or jungle Cho, which I don't think are quite so common right now.
Correct. Especially Jungle Cho'Gath. Have not seen that one in a while, but the Swain's going to be taken away. So obviously fearing Chingo in that aspect, but I'm kind of curious for the Zyra pickup because I feel like with Tristana, you either want somebody that can engage consistently or you want somebody that will protect Tristana. Usually you don't see that in the form of a like heavy mage support. Obviously, these are things that Really Lost is super experienced on, so this is kind of a comfort pick for her. I don't necessarily like the synergy between the Zyra Tristana though.
Maybe elaborate on that one for me.
So I don't like it as much because Tristana usually just really, really wants either somebody who can just lock them down for her, or you can just keep her alive. So Zyra kind of just does her job as a support by zoning people out, which is useful, but doesn't have that inherent synergy. They work together, but they're not like super great at working together. They kind of just do their own jobs and it works out.
I guess. Teemo being hovered actually will be the Olaf in the jungle. I mean, I wouldn't be against a Teemo this game. No, I would be against a Teemo. I'm always against a Teemo. Especially blind Teemo. I don't think it's good. Because you already have a Cho'gath.
Uh-oh.
No, let's go.
Uh-oh.
Let's go. Let's go. Bird is back.
Yeah, so I will let you take over on the Anivia talk because that is your girl.
Oh boy, Anivia. She got buffed this patch. Her Q does less damage, but at the expense of everything else doing more damage and costing less mana. Her E mana usage no longer scales over time, stays at a flat 40 mana the entirety of the game. The ultimate uses less mana. And on top of that, her E now 60% base AP scaling, which means with the frost effect, does add to 120% AP scaling instead of 100% AP scaling on a point and click ability, plus the fact that her Q now, if you're hit by the slow and not even the explosion, right? Not even stunned by it, just if you're passed over by it, the E will do that bonus damage as well. So that plus these mana buffs have basically brought her from having a really bad win rate, to say the least, into actually being a viable champion if you know how to play her. Especially especially in the lane matchups where you're not going to be necessarily, engaged on 24/7. Like this Victor that was in fact picked up by Ashes of Dreams in the mid lane, right? Victor still very strong in the laning phase, despite the nerfs that have happened after his recent changes. But I do quite like the Anivia pickup here. Plus, it scales very well into the late game. Assuming this is going to be the Leandries build, because you're up against a Cho'gath Maokai, should be able to shred those very well. And I'm just happy to see my bird. All right. That's all I got. I've talked about her enough. Let's go over the other lane matchups, though. In the top lane, it will be the Ornn versus the Cho'gath.
All right. So, once again, I'm going to run on the assumption of what is normally built for Cho'gath. This is kind of a wash because both of these are tanks that can actually fight each other fairly well. The Cho'gath has a little bit less setup in terms of the actual engage potential. And with an Olaf, there's opportunity to actually get a kill in the early game. With Ramus and an Ornn, you're going to struggle to take down a Cho'gath at pretty much any point in the game, unless there are some major mistakes. Mega Zero is the higher ranked player, so I would expect Mega Zero to be able to control that lane a little bit better, and Scanlong has more aggression to be able to control the Ornn if they want to focus that.
Yeah, I'm with you on that one. I think, going late, right? I think no matter what, the Ornn's going to be favored, but in that early to mid game, Cho'Gath definitely should have the advantage, and that does lead into the jungle matchup, as you already kind of touched on it. We have the Ramus versus Olaf.
Yeah, so Olaf is going to have a much stronger clear in the early game and just overall dueling potential. That said, Ramus is really scary. Just the speed at which Ramus can show up and the very controlling lockdown. I would not be surprised to see the Victor or maybe even the Jhin go for a cleanse because the taunt is so strong and it is just so absurdly long once you put some points into it that you're gonna need it to get yourself away from those bad situations. The follow-up from a Ramus taunt is going to be the Anivia Q, the Zyra root, the Ornn ult can come through. There's so much scary potential for that Ramus as long as that team follows up. But as far as individual play goes, Scanlong should have this jungle on lockdown and should be able to run Frankly out whenever he tries to show up.
Yeah, and moving on to the mid lane, you mentioned the Anivia Q follow-up. I already talked about the bird. Not to mention our auto attacks. Now much easier to CS with. So let's talk about the matchup, though, outside of the Anivia pick. What do we kind of make? How is this lane going to go? How's it going to go late? Obviously, both these champions do scale very well into that late game. What do you make of it?
Yeah, so Victor's going to have a much easier time in the early game, just able to push that wave much more effectively than Anivia can, especially with the changes, as you mentioned. Q does not push the wave anywhere near as much as it used to. So Victor will be able to kind of clear that wave a lot more effectively. I think also the trade potential, as long as Victor can keep the spacing, that will offer a lot of opportunities to whittle down the Anivia and then possibly get those uh, extra kills or assists that will then allow for Victor to get the upgrades even faster. So that is very, very scary. This is actually an electrocute Victor. So this really signals to me that Ashes thinks that he can win this game or win this lane very hard and really put a lot of pressure onto Chingo and then take that into the other lanes once those upgrades start coming through.
So Chingo opted for the phase rush here, which is much less common than Electrocute or Arcane Comet. I don't necessarily hate the rune on Anivia. I think in matchups where you just want to kind of sit back and stay safe, like this Victor matchup, it's totally fine. He also went for, in my opinion, the try-hard Anivia skin, because it doesn't look all that great, but the abilities are harder to see, which is why you pick it in these kinds of matches. And, 5-mana invade coming in towards this bottom side. Should be just for vision here. As Google working from home ended up going back towards their jungle. So that's I think you're totally right. Victor does have the lane advantage pre-6, and then Chingo should be able to get push priority in. Bot lane, though, we can talk about the matchup a little bit, as it looks like we aren't going to get any level 1 skirmishes. We had this Tristana versus the Jhin with supports of Zyra and Maokai.
Yeah, so Tristana, once again, we talked about that in the last game. Her early burst potential is there. It is very reliant on her being able to get that bomb down and blowing somebody up. The actual control of the lane, though, is much more in favor of Pyro, just from an 80 carry standpoint. But that said, then you add the Zyra versus the Maokai into the equation. It's an entirely different kind of lane control. So Fiddleshooks is really going to be looking to try and space out this Tristana and the Zyra. But one wrong move can turn fatal if Potato Shooter is able to get in there. Now, I'm almost positive this is going to be that full kind of AP-ish Maokai with the E-Max. This is what you do with that. You throw the plants, you throw your saplings into the bushes, and basically create a zone where they can't go and hide in the bushes away from you. So you always have vision of them and basically can control the bush from a distance. And then you're maxing the E, so it's doing more damage. You build Imperial Mandate, which then does even more damage and creates a mark, which can do, once again, more damage. While also still being fairly tanky and having a point-click root, which really makes you scary to walk up on.
And it helps Pyro do
damage.
I was expecting more damage.
More damage. Well,
more damage.
Yeah.
It helps Pyro do more damage. Basically, what I'm saying is I like the Maokai Jhin lane. I think in theory, right, Zyra Tristan actually isn't too bad a matchup, just because he can kind of get aggression back onto the Jhin, due to some of his inherent weaknesses being his low mobility, right? But at the same time, you still have to deal with this Maokai. He's going to be big and beefy even early in the lane, just due to his passive. And the game just lagged/paused for me.
It absolutely did for me as well. They paused the game, I believe.
I can't tell if they paused the game. I see ours in chat. Aegis of Dreams of Unpause. Ashes Dreams of Unpause.
There we go.
Okay,
All right, we're
spectator client this offseason has been completely and totally bugged. Just 100%. They bugged the chat in the spectator client, and then they bugged the spectator client itself, like end of the game. Like, you no longer have to continue, you have to Alt F4 out of the game. Riot, I love you. I love you, Riot. But please fix the spectator client before the new year. That's all I ask.
All I want for Christmas is a better spectator client.
All I want for Christmas is more than 4 spectate slots.
Yeah.
More than 4 spectate slots. More than 4 spectate slots.
But yeah, we are actually seeing the full tank Cho'gath. You have the Grasp coming through, and Mega Zero is maxing the E. So you can see one of the things Zyra can do is create those plants into the bushes to force those saplings to blow up. So there is a good bit of counterplay that Zyra can do. It still does kind of force Zyra to then use her plants in a defensive manner, which is not what you ever really want to do as a Zyra. But it does then allow you to clear those bushes.
Clear the bushes of the trees.
Yes.
It's
exploding trees. There's an important second part of that statement.
I mean, okay. Botany discussion right now, right? What is superior, the flowers of Zyra, or the saplings of Maokai?
I mean, the saplings literally like blow themselves up. I feel like that's a bit scarier than thorns being shot at you.
Yeah, but the roses, they're nice.
Uh-oh.
Taunt lands on Fiddle Shoots. This should be first blood in it. Is Pyro now getting hit by the rocket jump reset? Really lost. Is here Pyro forced to use the flash and the heal there, as flash was used by Frankly. Earlier though, cleanse and flash was used by Ashes of Dreams as well in the mid lane. So early game definitely going in favor of center. We run Vlads at the moment, but you know, it's still 200 gold difference at the moment. And we take a look at CS difference. Mega Zero currently 15 CS up on OP Sad Boys. And, you know, you may have lost a Maokai, but you still have your Jin up, and Scanlong solos a dragon because it's level 5, and he's, you know, Olaf, and that's really just even at the moment. Yeah. But an early Ocean feels really nice.
I actually, I'm not sure, honestly, because, like, okay, Scanlong, obviously the gank potential is nowhere near as strong as Frankly's gank potential, but Frankly's been doing a lot of work and has not fallen behind super hard on the camps, all things considered. You know, getting a kill and blowing like 4 summoners while also only being down 12 CS in the jungle, you're doing a pretty good job.
Yeah, but the gold's still even, and you have an early Ocean break. You know, I don't know, man. Early Ocean is always one of those things where I see that on the enemy team, and I'm like, well, I'm screwed. Especially if I have an Anivia on my team. Typically, I am the Anivia on my team, but that's besides the point. Because early Ocean feels really good on Anivia, and it feels even better on the other guy. Pyro, meanwhile, though, getting dove, and will end up getting killed by Potato Shooter on the mean side.
2-0 on Really Lost, so really trying to make up for the last game there, as she is now going to be able to go back and set up.
Fortune use mid lane, though. The dive, Under Tower after the Dreams is caught up in a Glacial Storm. OP Sad Boys picks up the kill. Brinkley will be traded, though, as Chaos Storm was used. Scanlong ends up picking up that kill. 1-for-1 thus far. Chaos Storm no longer available, but the Glacial Storm definitely is. Ornn want to try to keep the Anivia.
The burn.
Let's go. Let's go. One more E should be able to kill Mega Zero here.
With what mana?
Yeah, it was a flash auto, not a flash E. Looking for the E. Oh,
there's no mana.
There's no mana.
Chingo
You're out of mana.
No
you
mana.
have no mana. But no, really solid play from the Anivia there. Picking up a kill and an assist. Good Glacial Storm. Good use of the Frostbite and auto attack to pick up one of those kills. We'll be grabbing a blue buff here as well from Frankly. I love it when my jungler does this as Anivia. It feels so good. So Chingo is opting into a build path that I think is just bad, which is just directly going into the Archangel's staff / Seraph's Embrace. Especially in games where you're up against 2 tanks, just go for the Leandry's first item. I feel like... Oh, no, never mind. Never mind. He's going into Leandry's. I'm bad. Don't mind me. Yeah, no, this is correct. You're able to get the last chapter for mana, as well as the MR Shred onto these tanks, which is really important. In games, I know it's the item that like basically everyone's going on Anivia right now to go for this, but I would like to posit the case for Rift Maker Anivia and games where there is only 1 tank or just a bunch of bruisers and no tanks.
Oh, we got a TP.
Outside though, Glacial Storm on a Pyro. They aren't able to get the stun, but the follow-up damage is there from the Ramus, and now Fiddleshook's in trouble, getting stomped on by the Ramus. Really Lost gonna flash out of the way, but is shut down, or she's shut down, I should say, as Potato Shooter ends up getting the kill on the Fiddleshook's. 2 for 1 in favor of Senator. We run Vlads, but in the meantime, Rift Herald will be spawned to the mid lane. This should be enough to get first tower pre-14, as Tristana can't really burn through 3 plates on her own at this stage in the game.
Yeah, good call from Facebook here, or from Google rather. They are getting that mid lane push and getting a lot of things on the opposite ends of the map because they saw that 5-man way too late. Pyro, Fiddleshooks just having a rough time, but they did get 1 kill in response and getting that tower down. No plates even for the Anivia yet, so really, really big gap in that mid lane gold now.
OP's Tad Boys in the meantime, ending up using Call the Forge God on a Mega Zero top lane, but they'll be fine. As Gore Drinker has been completed on to Scanlong. It's the first mythic of the game, and it feels nice on the Olaf to get this, especially when you're going for the Conqueror. Just bada bing, bada boom, I don't die because I have a million healing, unless you burst me down, and your Tristana isn't to that point in the game yet where she can do that. Same with the Anivia.
That is an item. That is an item that I saw and immediately was thinking that is an Olaf item.
Yeah, it's just such a good item on them. They're able to pick up the Ocean Dragon, and it will be the triple stat Drakes this game, as Infernal Dragon will be the soul. 2 Drakes over to Google working from home. It was really nice for them, and they currently, despite being 3 kills down, have about a 7,000 gold lead at the moment.
Yeah, and I think
or
a good bit,
700, my bad.
a bit of that is coming from that top lane and the mid lane plate gold that they were able to get. So there is a lot of unseen gold. Mega Zero doing really, really well for himself. Does have actually went for the Sunfire here, interestingly enough. So we're just getting every tank mythic other than the one that you generally see on Cho'gath.
I mean, I don't hate it. You have plenty of slows and other forms of reliable crowd control, right? You have the Victor, who's able to get a slowdown really easily with his W. In the Gravity Field, you have, you know, guaranteed root coming in from the Maokai. So maybe the slow from the auto attack isn't necessarily as worth it as just the extra beefiness that Sunfire Aegis brings. So we'll see though. Mega Zero, he's having a good old time in the top lane. Currently 20 CS on the Gorn.
Yeah, and with that Sunfire finished, it is just going to be harder for Ornn right now. Ornn will eventually hit a point where he is going to be super beefy, and it's just going to be, you know, a bunch of tanks slapping each other, as is the way in top lane. But
wait, Chango, you disappoint me. He went Ionian Boots of Lucidity.
yeah, need that ultimate on a lower cooldown.
Chango! CDR is good on Anivia. Not as good as the Magic Pen, especially this game. Ashes of Dreams going to go ahead and cleanse off the taunt from the Ramus as the flash ultimate. Spear comes in from Scanlong. That was not a spear, that was an axe, excuse me. That will end up being a kill going over to Scanlong, and they'll pick up the blue buff, take it away from the Anivia.
Yeah, and
Not
that's
as
a
good when you
big
take
one.
that away.
Yeah, that is a big one to take away there. It's doesn't even really matter as much who gets it. It's just you want to get that away from Anivia because that completely changes how she has to play the game.
Yeah, I mean, especially until she gets the Archangel stuff into Seraph's Embrace, right? Converting AP into mana, or mana into AP as well. Pyro, though, he gets chunked out a bit, forcing Fiddleshook's ultimate here, as frankly makes their way bottom side. Really lost, though. Still 3-1-1 on the Zyra. She's having a decent game for herself at the moment. Sitting on an Imperial Mandate, so more damage.
This is full tank Maokai, actually.
Yeah, it is full tank Maokai.
Interesting. So, to be clear, most of the time when you see a support Maokai, it is Imperial Mandate followed up by the demonic or the demon helm.
Demonic Embrace.
Demonic Embrace, yeah. That is generally what you see with Maokai because the saplings just do a huge amount of damage. And I think just with how easily Zyra can ruin the saplings, that does make sense to kind of pivot that. It's just not... I wasn't sure if we were going to see that or not.
Yeah. Call the Forge God used on a Mega Zero top lane. Won't be able to find the knockup, and Chingo stopped up by Mega Zero. Then gets caught in a Glacial Storm and tries to make his way out. Scanlong, in the meantime, looking for Chingo. Goes ahead and pops the Ragnarok, forcing flash out of the bird. OP Sad Voice should be the sacrifice in the meantime as he flashes out of the way. Ash's Dreams is here. Mega Zero picks up a kill on OP Sad Voice. Scanlong, no longer the Ragnarok actually gets slowed up by the Anivia ultimate, but he's totally fine. And Google working from home now, pulling ahead, 2,000 gold in the lead at this 15:45 mark.
Yeah, starting to get a little bit of a lead here. Important to note, level 11 is out for the Anivia, so the ultimate hitting level 2. Very, very big point for her.
It's not. It's not. The thing that matters the most is getting your E to level 5. Once you have all your points in your E.
But the cooldown, PhiNick.
I mean, it's the cooldown. It's also extra damage, right? Like, it does more damage on fights, which is really important, but it's not the cooldown. Yes, the ultimate's on a lower cooldown, but that's really just your ability to reposition in fights, as really Lost just gets yeeted by a curtain call from Fiddleshooks and Ashes of Dreams.
Yeah,
on
that was... Everybody else on her team just backed off, and while it was a good root and ult follow-up, there was no extra help to actually clean that up, so Mandate's damage potential just drops like mad if you do not have allies anymore. They did nerf this previous patch the amount of initial damage that it does and moved that all into the mark popping. So they took about half the damage off of the initial mark and moved that into popping it. So you aren't going to do much if you are alone.
Yeah. Leandry's Torment completed on Shingo as Ashen's Dreams. Stunned up by a...
good combo.
God, back into the Ramus, able to get the taunt down. Ashes of Dreams taken out as really Lost picks up the kill, but he's able to get the Chaos Storm off in the meantime. But still, kill onto Ashes of Dreams, nothing to sneeze at. He also pops the Cleanse and the Chaos Storm. Chingo, of course, pops the ultimate. Whatever will she do without her? Never mind, it's back up. But at the same time, Scanlong might find OP Sad Boys. 2-man knockup hits as Ragnarok gets popped. The Stranglethorns is around and should be enough to disengage. Ramus, though, look for Mega Zero, gonna get silenced up. Potato Shooter's around, though, able to get a fully stacked bomb on a Mega Zero, and Mega Zero knocked up by the Ornn.
There's just so much crowd control. It is so awful to go in a 1v whatever situation, because frankly will just taunt you, have you just murder yourself against him, and then that sets up all the other crowd control that is a little bit harder to hit. The Zyra E, the knock up on Ornn, the stun on the Nivea Q. There's just so much setup off of that taunt.
Curtain call, though. Used up towards this Rift Herald, and same with Maokai Ultimate. Frankly, able to secure the Rift Herald for themselves, as really Lost ends up getting Fiddleshooks a little bit far forward. I'm not sure if that was necessarily worth all that expenditure from Google working from home, but they're really looking for this soul point. I think that's kind of their win con right now. 2 minutes, 45 seconds. And, I mean, they're on soul point. They got all three of the Drakes thus far in the game. And if they can get what appears to be a 21.5-minute soul, they would be very, very happy.
Yeah. Still waiting on a Mythic here from the Maokai. As you can see, the lower gold on the support items is kind of crucial if you are not super fed. Maokai not able to get enough gold income to really finish a Mythic here, as it is not a fun time.
Pyro, though, down in the bot lane towards OP Sad Boys as a turret falls elsewhere on the map. Not sure which one that was, but I assume it's top lane because Mega Zero's backing. And, you know, taking a look at these items, Luden's Tempest was the mythic of choice for Ashes of Dreams. Currently sitting on a Blasting Wand, not sure exactly what is going into next item. And Ivia, though, as the Large Rod, will be going into the Archangel Staff. Call the Forge God. We popped bot
Here comes Ramus.
A 2-man knock up. Ramus is here. Frankly, though, it gets stopped up by the Ornn. Fiddleshooks ends up in trouble, but OP Sad Boys gets kill. And yeah, so a bit of anti-synergy actually comes in as Frankly hits the Ornn pillar on his chase towards Pyro. So thoughts on these items? What are we seeing? What do we want to see come out?
Well, maybe a Zonia's from Ashes.
Perhaps. Especially, you know, when Potato Shooter just comes in with the Ramus and yeets you down.
Yeah, so there's so much armor on this Ornn, and I'm not entirely certain why. I understand the Bramble Vest to a degree because it's really going to hurt the Olaf. The Olaf is basically relying on auto attacking and life stealing. So
it basically shuts down Jhin, right?
Yeah. I don't hate those, but I really would like to see, you know, maybe go for the Bramble Vest and then get some MR quick, because Victor's gonna eat you alive without any kind of magic resistance.
Scan long, though. Rooted up, has to pop the Ragnarok as the flash comes in. Dragon has spawned, or is spawning in a second, now has spawned. And this should just be seeded over to Senator. Rerun Vlads. Pyro, though, has the
Cho'gath.
Looks for the root down, but Chingo just going to go ahead and zone out with the wall. First dragon of the game to go over to Senator. We run Vlads as Mega Zero. Might be in a little bit of trouble. Ramus, though, able to get quite a bit of damage in as Ashes of Dreams is here. Potato Shooter going to rocket jump forward onto Fiddlesticks, and Fiddleshooks is dead as it's Ashes of Dreams. Rocket jump back onto Mega Zero through the reset. Mega Zero now trying to cut out of the way, but it will be a triple kill regardless for Potato Shooter on the Tristana. Pyro looking for a root, won't find it. And now Senator rerun Vlad's first gold lead of the game, currently sitting about 1,000 ahead, and delaying the soul for another 4 minutes 24 seconds at the least. They are moving in towards the Baron, though.
Yeah, with OP Sad Boys, they should be able to get this. Now, Scanlong is a slightly higher level, so can get in there and steal it. but we'll get the blast cone taken away, and that does pretty much remove any opportunity. So that will be a Baron for Google, or sorry, for Facebook. I keep mixing up the teams. It will be a Baron for Facebook as they're going to go back. We're going to see, hopefully, that's going to be the Demon Helm coming forward for Zyra. Because burns are always great on a champion like Zyra.
That's not oh yeah, that is. She just has an Oblivion Orb, and now moving into Demonic Embrace.
Yes.
Yeah, you're right. You're right.
I think it's the right call.
It is definitely the right call. I mean, Demonic Embrace is going to be the third item on Chingo as well. As soon as he completes the Archangel staff, it's just such a good item on both of those champions, but especially into these tanks, right? With the Cho'gath, with this Maokai building tank, it's going to be the Frostfire completion from Fiddleshooks. Thornmail has actually been completed by Mega Zero. Not a gigantic fan of this one. The only healing really on center we run Vlads is the no, it's not even the Tristana. There is no healing.
No inherent healing, correct.
No inherent healing.
Tristana probably has a good amount though, actually, with her runes. She's probably got the cheap shot. Let me see actually what she does have.
She went coup de grace.
Has
a secondary
has
alongside Legend
Bloodline, has the Taste of Blood, has Ravenous Hunter.
Ravenous
Yeah.
Hunter.
Yeah, there's a lot of healing just inherently on that Tristana.
But Google working from home, despite the Baron buff being used on center rerun Vlads, will be able to take a mid lane T2 towers. The T1 push topside actually ends up getting stopped by this forced rotation from Google working from home, and honestly, I think it's just smart play, right? Force rotation, see what you can do about that.
Ramus.
He got silenced up, though, by the Cho'gath back into the ultimate of the Maokai, Ashes of Dreams, able to get the kill onto Frankly, and there's no follow-up damage available. Jingo ends up having to flash out of the way as he was stunned up. Current Call going to be used, as well as Strangled Thorns. And now, OP Sad Boy is trying to tank up for his team. No Root's going to land, as Nevi is able to keep the Glacial Storm up to zone out the members of Google working from home, and you know it's a good ultimate at this point in the game. Archangel Staff has been completed by Chingo, relatively close to Seraph's Embrace at the moment. It's 328 stacks at the moment. Oh no, it is at Seraph's Embrace. I'm bad.
Yeah. So frankly, going a little bit too deep there. Was a good engage, just the team could not follow up in time, and you could see Potato Shooter not able to do enough damage yet, and will just get things turned back around with just Frankly going down, as Dragon will be spawning here. Really lost trying to get some damage down before it, and with the
Roost.
Yeah, the important to note the wave positions right now. While there is there is a lot of vision control already down, and the wave positions right now, they are forcing that mid wave back and forth. That is going to be kind of the big fight.
Steric's completed on Scanlong, though, as well as this Lichbane completion on Ashes of Dreams. And they have the inside track towards the objective at the moment, currently sitting 12 seconds left on the respawn timer. And really, they just want the objective, right? Like, even if they lose the team fight, so long as they can get the smite down, losing the team fight doesn't matter, because you can't end if you're center rerun Vlads at this point, and they know it. So the Forge God going to be, he was rooted back up. The Orin going to be in a little bit of trouble as Potato Hunter tries to find his way back into the backside of the fight. Cho'gath will be able to get the kill onto the Orin as Mega Zero gets taken down very low by the Anivia and will end up getting taken out by Frankly. Current Call going to be used as well as Chingo ends up going back into the egg, really lost, trying to cut out of the way, and it will be a 3-for-1 in favor of Google working from home. Ramus is around with a Blast Cone, but they really can't make anything happen. It will be Infernal Soul going over to Google working from home. And that's game, boys.
Yeah, that was not a great fight on multiple levels there. OP Sad Boys getting rooted up and knocked around, not able to reactivate the Ornn ultimate to shove it back into the enemy team. And Potato Shooter just diving super deep and not able to get anything done there. Just went down pretty straightforward there. Just a good back to front fight that Google would absolutely opt into every time.
Yeah, and Collector now completed on Pyro as Stormrazor is the completion for Potato Shooter, now having a BF Sword. Not sure exactly what that's going into yet, but I think the real story is take a look at this Victor right now, sitting on 2 items now, building into the third is quite a bit ahead of the Anivia, and she's not going for the Demonic Embrace, instead going for the Zony's Hourglass. I think this is just a flat-out mistake from the Anivia. You're living long enough in the fights to do your damage. You just need more of it. I digress on that point, though.
Yeah.
Oh, no.
Is the Collector.
Yep. That is a bit annoying. But the Zyra is dead, and now, with the Maokai popping the ultimate to help clear this wave, they're just trying to push in towards this mid lane tower. The Baron has spawned, and that does mean inside track plus the wave pressure. Google working from home should be able to grab this one without any real contest. Call the Forge God is available, though, and it will be used. Going back in, only able to get 2-man knockup as the rest of the Senator we run Vlad's squad really can't make it into the fight. This will be the Baron for Google.
Chomped by the Cho'gath, who is sitting on 10 stacks currently.
10 stacks on Cho'gath is how much damage on his ultimate?
Let's see. That to a champion that is 741.
And to a minion or monster, it's 1266.
Yeah, that's a lot, and that is level 16 is coming up. So we'll only get
first on ends up dying, basically.
Yeah. There is no world where Potato Shooter can safely walk up to Mega Zero and get out alive.
That's an oof and a half.
Yeah, and it looks like right now we're going to see Google try and collect a lot of this gold that they have sitting on the bot side here, setting up traps along the way to be able to clear out anybody that wants to try and protect these long towers that are still alive. Pretty just straightforward macro here, as they're just going to try and push in on the sides that the Facebook team are just pretty much avoiding.
And Facebook just trying to keep these minions off the tower, but unfortunately, Baron Up Cannon minions outrange the tower anyway. And they're just going to keep on going. And, you know, as much as I like to be that guy who's like, oh man, it's a Anivia up against a Baron buff, yeah, it's not going to be much help here at the moment. You just don't have enough damage on her at the moment. She's only on 2 items. And OP Sad Boys trying to make their way in. Can't really find much as Ashes of Dreams just yeets the Zyra out with the Chaos Storm, and the mid lane T3 tower, or bot lane T3 tower, excuse me, ends up falling in favor of Google working from home, making use of this Baron buff quite well. Might be moving towards T4s right now, but once again, they're up against an Anivia. TP being channeled, though, as the knockup lands onto 2. Ragnarok going to be popped, Mega Zero. Frankly, and OP Sad Boys. Sad Boys will go in trouble for a second, but yeah, I mean, these Baron up minions, they just hit towers. You can't really do too much against them. One of these towers will end up falling, and there's just no engagement to be had from Senator We Run Vlads. They're waiting for the Zyra to respawn. She's up in 2 seconds. They're able to hold on to this T4 tower in the meantime, and
I mean,
reset will be the call for WFH.
There are engagements that can be made, just not engagements that can be won. They have a lot of opportunity to set up fights. Just Potato Shooter and Chingo just don't do anywhere near enough damage to burn through this Cho'gath, or, you know, they don't have anything to be able to stick onto this Vladimir Jin.
Yeah, and with all that, it's just it's not a fun time.
Yeah, Facebook are on the ropes right now.
I mean, they got 1 minute on Elder Dragon. Can always kind of play around that. Right? I feel like that's going to be the last fight of this game if it goes over to Google. But if it goes over to Facebook, they have the ability to use that and transition into a Baron, which will spawn about 2 minutes after Elder.
Yeah, but honestly, it is going to be a hard time to even reach that point because you have the Lich Bane, the Banshees on Victor. He's going to just blow people up, and with that Cho'gath, you can't even really try and steal any objectives because he's just going to chomp them before anybody can even get in smite range.
Banshee's completed on Ashes of Dreams in the meantime, as it will be the Void stat. Why? Why?
More damage. Well, that is the wrong side of the
You
map,
need
guys.
Demonic Embrace. OP Sad Boys and company in trouble here. Maokai gonna pop the ultimate, gets onto the Warren. He's gonna be rooted up. Anivia gonna pop a Glacial Storm, but he's on to only the Olaf. He's now trying to chase on a Chingo, who has to flash out of the way. Buster Shot hits on a Mega Zero, but the double kill goes over to Pyro. And Anivia and the Egg will end up falling to Scanlong in the meantime, as Flash in on a Really Lost. Really Lost ends up falling. Ashes of Dreams now. Trying to cut out, frankly. Gets the stun down into the gravity field. Now Scanlong's here. This should be the game going over to Google, working from home in a 2-0 fashion. I never doubt. Yeah, GG's called in chat. I never doubted him. I don't know what you're talking about. Yeah, really, really solid stuff. I think this one was kind of a draft if, not gonna lie. Because even with, you know, some early advantages coming from Facebook and maybe some mid-game turns, they just had no way to deal with the damage that was coming out from this Victor and the Cho'gath especially.
I think ultimately too, there was just a lot of poor early game play against champions that really couldn't, like, you were against champions that if they win or go even in the early game, they scale up super hard. And there was not enough pressure on this Cho'gath or this Victor or this Jin. Like, it was just, okay, well, you go off, have a good time, and I'll slightly be behind in farm, and you'll steamroll me in the later portions of the game.
Yeah, and Google with that will end up going on to the semifinals. I believe most of the teams are going to be playing those tomorrow, so we won't actually be able to bring you those tonight, unfortunately. But next Saturday at 3 p.m. Eastern Standard Time, we will be back to our normal time, and we will have the BO5 Grand Finals. That said, we're going to try to get Pyro in here for an interview. But before that, who do you think is our series MVP here?
Hmm. My gut. My gut wants to say Mega Zero. I mean, I think it's between Scanlong or Mega Zero because I think just the jungle pressure was really strong, but I think part of that came from how much Mega Zero was able to win lanes, even ones that he shouldn't have won.
Yeah, I'm with you on Mega Zero. I think he had a very good Malphite game, and this Cho'gath game was no different from him. I mean, obviously, Scanlong did very well on this Olaf this game, was able to get quite a bit of early pressure in, only died once, and previously also did fairly well as well. Shout outs also, though, to Pyro. Played really well in the Tristana in game number 1, and not a terrible Jin game either. That said, right, Facebook Senator Rerun Vlads unfortunately knocked out of the tournament. Uh, Commiserations to them. And I mean, they had some bright spots, I think, in game number 1 and at the beginning of this game, right? I think Chingo did play on the Swain fairly well, and Really Lost had a decent start on the Zyra here. But unfortunately, they just weren't able to complete. We will have Pyro in here for an interview, but first we're going to take a short break. We'll be back, though, with more of the Corporate Esports Association League of Legends quarterfinals. Welcome one, welcome all, and welcome back to the Corporate Esports Association League of Legends quarterfinals. My name is PhiNick, joined on the desk today by Thousand Eyes, and after that 2-0 victory from Google working from home, we have their team captain Pyro on with us for our post-match interview. How are you feeling after that 2-0 victory?
Pretty good. Those are some close games. The adrenaline's still wearing off.
Yeah, and obviously, like game one, you guys had a very close early game, then it kind of broke open. Game number two definitely felt a little bit closer for parts of that game. But before we get into the games, this is your opportunity to shout out your charity, the NAACP. What can you tell us about them? Why are you guys supporting them? And
Yeah. I mean, the NAACP is just a general charity that works to help, minorities who are in a spot for usually legal issues. So they'll pay for like a lawyer or legal counsel for people who normally wouldn't be able to afford one themselves. And just in general, it was the best way we could kind of find of the charities that were available to support the Black Lives Matter movement, because that's something we're all interested in supporting.
all right. So now to the games. So let's talk a little bit about the game number one, right? Obviously, you blind picked this Malphite. Not something I'm a huge fan of, but obviously, it worked very well for Mega Zero into that Cho'gath. But what were your kind of thoughts? First rounding that pick, and then what were your thoughts into the Cho'gath lane for Mega Zero there?
Yeah. Mega Zero is just really good at Cho'gath, and we were pretty confident. Picking him into, we banned the things that we were worried about them playing top, and then we, gave Patrick the Malphite and let him just be the rock in the top lane. Worked out pretty well. Our kind of goal was the team fight comp, and Malphite is
Yeah.
is the key to that.
Did you guys have any worries about kind of putting Mega Zero, like, because Mega Zero I think is one of your higher ranked players, just having him on kind of just tank duty, and not giving him more opportunity to just really super hard carry a game?
You think that, and then he has the most damage in the game, anyways.
Yeah, no,
Yeah.
I mean, the numbers
no
don't
worries.
match it. But yeah,
He's one of our best players, and putting him on a champion who has the ability to decide, those giant 4-man Malphite ults. I mean, that's just a win in my book.
All right. As well, you guys had a couple flex picks in that draft with the Morgana and the Galio. Were you guys always planning to take that Galio in the support with the Morgana in that mid lane, or were you guys like waiting to see what's going to go on with that Swain pick, or what was your thought process there?
Yeah, I mean, even the Tristano's a flex pick. We like our flex picks. Keep the enemy on their toes. Who knows what we're going to play? Definitely is the plan to flex it. Keep our options open. But in general, we really like the Galio support. It's something that's kind of not super popular, but gives good mobility and is just generally really effective at like early fights too, level 2. So we're happy with the flex picks, but we're always gonna be willing to swap them around. So keep on the lookout for that.
Yeah. Thousand?
So were you guys kind of worried about a lack of damage in that first game? Because there was so much kind of like tanky AoE, like big like knockups and stuff. So you had pretty much with the Morgana in the mid lane and then really only having a Tristana otherwise for damage. Were you guys kind of worried?
That definitely can be a problem if they have 2 or 3 big tanks that end up getting ahead with those kind of comps. But based on their draft, like as we were seeing their kind of ability to get tanky, we weren't too particularly worried in that scenario. So yeah, we would hold off on picking so many tanky people, until kind of later in the draft. You wouldn't want to pick all 3 tanks right away because of that exact issue.
Gotcha. Moving on to game number 2. You guys had last overall pick with this Victor up into the Anivia. Obviously, Anivia got buffed quite a bit in the previous patches. Were you guys worried about that pick at all with your double tank setup, or were you guys like, okay, we can just roll over it?
Well, certainly, it's a little bit of a wild card. Anivia's just kind of newly been, more competitive of a champ in terms of being picked in CEA. So it was, it's something we haven't played against, so we were a little concerned. But you just have to play around objectives a little more. You can't push turrets with an Anivia; she just drops her ult. So we just knew it would be an objective focused game, and the early soul was the goal, and we got that.
With the Maokai support. So like generally when I see a Maokai support, I am seeing like Imperial Mandate with the max saplings and going for just a lot of poke. Did you guys kind of like see the Zyra and just pivot that into just being a full tank Maokai, especially with like the rest of your composition being more kind of like you didn't have your engage, or was it always kind of the plan to just go full tank?
I think the plan is just to go full tank. We've we just got a lot of beefy boys, and 2020 you can build pretty much full tank and sit on an 80 carry and win the duel anyways. So I think in general we went for the full tank Malphite. That was the plan. It wasn't really a pivot. Something I did like actually, which I'm not sure if you guys saw it in the cast or not, but they 5-man dove us, and our whole team reacted. And actually, for a 5-man dove double kill under bot, they lost like 7 or 8 plates all around the map, and I think we actually came out ahead in gold.
That was one thing that I pointed out pretty much immediately, of just the immediate reaction of like, you lost something bot, you immediately took something on the other side of the map where you could.
All right. So before we wrap up the interview, do you have any shout outs to give out to specific team members, or something for the Twitch chat, messages for other teams in the league, etc.?
I mean, good luck. I think we're playing Microsoft next, so hope to see you. Hope to see those guys bring their A game, but we're definitely going to take the win there, and looking for our second victory overall in CEA. So see you next week.
All right. That being said, that is all the time we have for today's broadcast. So catch us next week for the grand finals over on twitch.tv/CEA LOL. That one will be a best of 5 at 3 p.m. Eastern Standard Time, 12 p.m. Pacific. And from everyone here at CEA, the admins, production staff, league staff, and Brendan, our producer, my name is PhiNick.
My name is Thousand Eyes.
And I'm Pyro.
We will see you. Oh, okay. Thank you. And we'll see you next week.